What's up, folks? Welcome to the best family outdoor show. Today we are going to be winterizing this RV, which is an E-350 Majestic 23A. I know that some of you use air to winterize an RV, but in this video specifically I'm going to use antifreeze. Air is okay, antifreeze is okay, as long as you do it right. So let's get to it. Is the water heater service compartment. It is just held on by this little clip, which you normally have horizontally to keep it in. And you see how there's a little notch that's vertical. Once you pull the spring clip out and turn it vertical, this will drop down, like so. This is the tank. Some of these water tanks come with a metallic rod. This is plastic. So all I gotta do is unscrew it and I'm good to go. What's very important is to release this pressure valve before unscrewing this. Because what's gonna happen if you don't is this plug is gonna pop out like a bullet. And if you're standing here and by chance it hits you, it's gonna hit you right in the gut or in the groin, all right? Because look at it, it lines up to the groin, all right? You don't want that. I'm gonna say I did that once in the past and I'm glad it wasn't on video, put it that way. So, what I'm gonna do first, pressure valve, lift it up. Make sure it's released so nothing stupid happens, like I said, you know, things popping in your face. I have this. So again, I'm gonna use this because it works perfect. It allows me to reach in. All right, so let's adjust it to the right size. Lefty loosey, righty tighty, all right? So I'm gonna slowly undo it. And as you can see, that plug is getting kind of nasty, so I might have to buy a new one next year, depending on what happens. But I find though, these plugs can get pretty nasty before you replace it, because you only have to take them out once a year. So go slow, be steady. You can remove this plate here if it bugs you, but I don't find it's necessary. Sometimes after removing it, it doesn't really go back on right, so I prefer not to take it off. You're gonna want tiny turns, and ideally you want a better wrench, but like I said, I'm at a storage lot. I don't have the proper size, so I gotta make do and use a adjustable wrench, which is what it is, especially when you're at storage lots. And keep going. Now it's pretty loose, I can probably use my hands. There we go. Move aside, it's gonna start spewing water. There you go, that's the hot water tank draining itself. And remember, pressure release valve. If that is down, the moment you release this, it's gonna pop out like a bullet because there's gonna be so much pressure in this tank. So I just let it drip off there down to the floor. It's just water, so it's okay. While we're at it, I want to show you another thing that tends to fail. That right there is the control board for the heater. Sometimes the heater stops working, and majority of the times it's because this board has failed. You can buy these boards and replace them, but the problem is these boards are half the price of the whole heater. So sometimes it's worth it to just buy a whole complete new heater than replacing the board. But sometimes replacing the board is a better idea. So it depends on how old your heater is and how it's working. So this time we're going to do winterization with antifreeze and this. I'm gonna say my preferred method is this method because it's quick and almost fail-proof. Almost. So first, let's open up the compartments we gotta open up. We've gotta open up this. This is the back of the hot water tank. I'm not gonna touch this because this is what drains the fresh water tank. I'll do that last. You see here are some lines for the hot water tank. You have the hot water tank inlet right here and the outlet right there. So here's a freshwater tank. In the current setup, which is a non-winterized state, you have your freshwater tank here, which when you turn the pump on, water draws through this line, and then, okay, you can't really see it with that line. The water goes through here, it goes down through this elbow, and it goes straight into the inlet of the water tank. and it'll fill it up from the bottom upwards, and then when it gets to about this level, it'll start exiting through the outlet here, which is the exit outlet in the top, to the hot water lines. So when this is boiling, water fills up, it gets hot, and the hot water comes out of here to the hot water line into your RV system. Okay? When you winterize, you want to reverse this setup. You want to make sure these valves are closed to the hot water tank, and the one in the middle is open. Okay? So how do you know these valves are closed or open? This line is going straight. This valve is straight. That is open. This line is going up and down. This valve is horizontal. That is closed. So basically the opposite of the line is normally closed. Okay? So what I'm going to do is close this valve here, which is the valve connecting to the upper outlet. I'm going to close this valve here, which is the valve that lets water in to the lower inlet of the tank. And what I'll do here is I'll open the middle valve, which is between the hot and cold pipes. So now, earlier I mentioned how the system works when it was in the non-winterized state. Now I'm going to winterize it, so what I got to do is the exact opposite. Water goes in here. It's going to try to go this way afterwards, after that elbow. And as you can see here, this valve is closed. So water is going to go here, stop, and not get into the tank, this inlet here. Instead, the pressure is going to flow upwards because now this is open. Through here, try to go this way. That valve is closed. No water is going to go in that valve, into that outlet. And the water is going to end up going this way, down, and through. So I'll open up this panel because this panel is another compartment we got to look at. You have a couple of these valves, and you have the air winterizing option if you want, and I have another video for that, by the way. So if you want to winterize your RV with air, check that one out. Click on this card right here. But if you don't, keep watching this video because I'm going to show you how to do it with antifreeze. I'm just going to drain the water here because it's easier at that point. This is the fresh water release. You can hear it gushing out the bottom. So here are two low point drains for the cold and hot. Bam and bam. So now all the water is going to drain out. And once it's done draining out, we're going to pump it full of antifreeze. When you winterize an RV, what you want to do is close the valve that goes to the fresh water tank. Otherwise, if the tank isn't empty, you're going to get a backflow of water going into your antifreeze container. You don't want that. So what you want to do is close this valve to the fresh water tank first. There's a compartment right here that allows you to service the water pump. So let's open it up. You got your blue line on this side, and on the Sherfo pump, you have your red on the other side. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm going to try to make it visible. I honestly don't know if I can do it. It's right there. Okay, I see it. So you see that red thing right there? I'm going to unscrew that and stick my winterizing tool onto it. Alright, everything's ready now, right? I got this thing in. And remember, where the pump used to pull water from, I now have it connected to this open end tube, which I will stick it into this antifreeze bucket. Like so. Like that. Okay. What we're going to do now is something that's very standard for all RVs. That water pump, like I said, is hooked onto the freshwater system. So when you turn these taps on, what happens? Water comes out. What we're going to do is the exact opposite. When we put the pump on, what's going to come out of these taps is antifreeze. What that does is it pushes all the water in the pipes out using antifreeze. And whatever is left in the pipes is antifreeze. So it's not going to freeze in the winter. So come spring, you're going to do the exact opposite of what we're doing now. You're going to connect that pump back to the freshwater reservoir. And then turn the pump on and then push all the antifreeze out with water. Okay, the exact opposite of what we're doing right now. Right now we're pushing all the water out with antifreeze. So nothing's in the system that can freeze still. Okay, so here's the water pump right here. See that water? All that liquid here? It's getting pulled in. Alright, so we were pulling antifreeze out of this bucket. The pump is now stopped, meaning it's fully pressurized. The same as if you're using it during camping, except now you're using this as your reservoir for fresh water as opposed to your actual freshwater tank, okay? So when everything's stopped, what you're gonna do next is go with your hot water in each tap, hot water on. Push all that water out. And then switch it to cold. Push all that water out, okay? And then you move to your showers, right here. Turn on the hot water again. It's gonna be regular water, and eventually you're gonna see pink stuff come out. When the pink stuff comes out, it is good to go. See? It's turning pink. Turning more pink. Turning even more pink. And now it's pretty much all pink. Look down. It's easier to see the color difference. Okay? Now you can almost see that water's come out, alright? Now you go again to the cold. You get white water, which is bad. And then it's gonna start turning pink. See that white water right there? That's bad water. Not bad water, but that's gonna freeze. So you keep doing it until pink stuff comes out. And at that point, you can say that that pipe is winterized, all right? Okay, cool. And what I like, right here, on the bottom, what I like to do is unscrew this and empty it of all stuff. Just like that. Okay? Toilet is next. So you got your toilet, all right? You wanna just open it and flush all the water out, and then fill it with some antifreeze, like so, okay? And then leave it like that. You want some antifreeze in there so that the seal doesn't get frozen, okay? It's always a good idea to have a bit like that hanging around. And that's it. Head over to your vanity sink. Same thing. Unplug it, turn on the water. You see that water that will freeze come out, and shortly after you're gonna get pink water. And pink water is what you want. So all this water is always left inside the pipes. If this water was actually in the pipes, it would freeze, and in the winter, you would definitely get busted pipes come spring. See that? Antifreeze is not coming out. It's that pink stuff. That's what you want to see. Close it and turn the other side, and you're going to see water come out again, regular water. And then antifreeze. Oh, it looks like that side's good. So there you go. That's it. Now you got pink water coming into every tap. At this point, you can basically unhook this and call it a day. There you go. Boom. But now I'll unhook this, call it a day. Make sure all the antifreeze is dropped back into the bucket. Close it up. Okay, now that's all done. This bucket is about halfway used. It's about 12 bucks per bucket. And in this bucket, there is 9.46 liters. So about 2-ish gallons, right? So 12 bucks, half used, 6 bucks cost to winterize it. Okay, so I'm gonna take out this tube. It's a really awkward angle. So normally I just not wear nice clothes. I lay down flat, stick my hand in there, and then turn it off. Like this. A very awkward angle. If you're used to RV work, you're gonna know everything is always in some nook and cranny. So using this tool here, I was able to winterize my RV for 6 bucks total, roughly. There's a bit of water there, so I'm gonna leave this compartment open so that it dries up. I generally leave all these compartments open in the winter because after I winterize, I want all the water to dry up. You could close it in maybe a week or so, but I just leave it open all winter. One thing to be very careful about is your RV fridge. If you have any moisture in here before storing and your doors are closed, come spring you're gonna have a mold fest You do not want that because your fridge is going to be so dirty that it's going to be disgusting to put food in there. So what you want to do is just give it a good clean like I have, just because it's a good idea. You don't have to, but it's a good idea. But the important point is to leave the doors open. That way any moisture dries up. And come summer, you don't have any mold problems.
You won't rust up your fridge too.
Yep. And number two, another one that people don't mention is bleeding out the lines of propane. So this stove here is connected to a propane tank in the RV. What I'm going to do now is show you how to turn it off, and then afterwards I'll bleed the lines so there's no propane stuck in the lines. Okay, this is the propane compartment for this RV. I'm going to turn it all the way to the right, like this. So it's off. This is a gauge actually. It tells you how full it is. 3/4 is full because 80% is all you can fill these tanks by regulation. So I'm turning it and turning and turning it. It takes a while to close it completely. And this is a regulator, by the way. Sometimes they fail and you have to buy a new one. But if you bleed the lines out, it's less likely to fail. Going back in. Here's the stove. What you could do is just bleed it out if you want, but if you're scared of the fumes, turn one on and burn it. And basically, when that flame shuts off, you have exhausted all the propane that's stuck on the lines. Now the lines have no propane in there, which is good. Usually for these RVs, especially the Class Cs, like this one over here, you can kind of see, turn sideways. You can see the design of it, right? The most common leaks for these Class Cs happen here. So before you leave your RV for the winter, these up like this, and then take the bottom one and pull it back. Because if there is a leak, water will likely pool back there, right? And if it does pool, you want it to dry up as fast as possible and not mold.
Not ruin your mattress.
And not ruin your mattresses and stuff like that. So what I do is, like I said, I just pull it back so the front has room to breathe. You want to make sure you pour some antifreeze into the sinks, the toilet, the shower, and everything else, because there are P-traps under here, and the P-traps hold water. And if you don't put any antifreeze into these P-traps by pouring antifreeze into the sinks, it might freeze. I know earlier we dumped some in already from winterizing, but I like to be safe. Because if the P-trap cracks, that's a stupid job to do. So I just take it and I go like this. I pour some 100% density in there in all the sinks, okay? What that helps is also puts some antifreeze into the gray and black tanks, and it ensures that those tanks have a little bit of antifreeze in there. Worst case, it'll just turn to slush. There you go. And that's it.
Did you put it in here?
Yep, that would be my pro tip. So right now, my gray and black tank has antifreeze in there, and that's how I want it. If it does freeze, it'll just slush. In the winter, you're likely not going to come visit your RV often at a storage lot, or use it much at all, because it's in the winter. So what you want to do is take out the batteries and put it somewhere where you can maintain them. Or if you have it, say, parked in your driveway, you can put a battery maintainer on them that charges it really slowly throughout the winter. But this is a storage lot, so I don't really have a choice. I'm going to take out the battery from this front compartment and also the RV battery in the back. I'm going to pull this battery out. Alright, so we're going to take these terminals out first. That way, you get electrocuted. You don't really have to, but be 100% on the safe side. Take these out, starting with the negative. There we go. You want to use these wrenches that are sized right, otherwise you round out your screws. I don't like doing that. There we go. And this is a number 8 wrench. So you take it out slowly, like that. Then you can release the negative. And what you could do if you want to be safe, if you want to be 100% safe, you can use something that, like an insulator, such as that, and make sure that the negative doesn't connect with the negative connector, and that way you're pretty worry-free at that point. So you want to just slowly take off both these bolts, number 8 wrench. Just loose enough so that you can lift it, like that, and then you can proceed to taking off the battery. What I got here to take the battery out is that, an extension, and the number 8 socket. The reason why is because if you have the number 8 socket down like this, and you put that there, you can't really do it because the wrench won't reach inside. See that? So what I do is I put this on a socket, which allows me to reach in like so, and then untorque it from the top, and just keep undoing it, because once it's done, and you'll feel it right away. All it's doing is taking off a little bracket. I'm using my fingers to do the rest because it's quicker, and if you look, it's just a bracket that holds it down. Okay, take this bracket, put it away somewhere, likely put it back in there afterwards when the battery's out. Okay, so now all we gotta do now is pull this battery physically off. Put that negative terminal somewhere. And one thing you want to do is push this away somewhere, because I find it gets caught when I lift it. So it's a good thing I have an assistant right now to help me. So ready? The battery is just a freestyle battery now at this point, right? So I'm gonna pull it out. Now it's out. I'm gonna show you how the bracket works. The bracket just sits like this right here, not like that. You see how the bracket has an edge like this? And just look at the battery down here. So you see the battery, how it has a little notch in the bottom? All it does is it sits like that on the edge of the notch, and then you screw it down so it doesn't move, okay? And just screw it back down lightly, so that when summer comes, I'm not hunting for this. A couple of times is fine, so it doesn't move in the winter, in the wind or whatever. Okay, and that's it. Take off this insulator because there's no battery anymore. Nothing is powered. So remember, that's the engine battery. There's still one more battery you got to take care of, and that's the coach battery, which is in the back, the RV battery. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna do the RV battery now. Usually I do the batteries first, and then the water last, because this happens, a big pool of water. I didn't think of it earlier when I was doing the video, but it's not gonna kill you. It's just the floor is wet and you get all muddy. I got a few more RVs to do, so I don't really want to muddy myself up. So that right there is the coach battery. I'll have to pull it out. Pretty rusted. Sometimes it's gonna be annoying to pull out. Like this one. Much easier. Yeah, there we go. I can probably pull it out from here. So what I'm going to do is take off these big bolts and then pull it out. What you want to keep note of is your negative and positive terminals. So you can see here that you got a red wire and a black wire. So you're good to go. You know which one's negative, which one's positive. $14 from memory. Yes. Okay, so we'll do the positive first, negative first. Let's go with negative. Just because. There you go. Doing this without a wrench would be very tough, by the way. Okay, so I got that one loosened. I use my hands for the rest. Put that somewhere where you won't lose. You're gonna put that back onto the battery afterwards. So here's the positive, which I will take out, like so.
You didn't take it out, so then you will get electrocuted. Huh?
That's fine. Here there you go. As you can see, it's fine. So
Yeah, but you got electrocuted a little bit.
no, it's just a little spark. It didn't get electrocuted.
Okay.
So what I have here is a water bottle. You can put whatever you want here. I'm just ghetto, so I put a water bottle here so the battery doesn't move, because you can fill it with air, compress it in. I have a bit of styrofoam here, keep the battery from moving. Doesn't matter what you put here, as long as you fill this space so your battery doesn't bounce around and move around. Alternatively, you can put a battery strap around this, but I have found this RV was fine without a battery strap because I made it really compressed. Okay, now that's done. You gotta lift it up and out. All right, that's not enough. One more pull. Okay, that's the most it's gonna go. If you look at it, the reason why is because of that little bracket there. This RV came with a lock for this compartment for the battery, and I had to cut out the lock because they didn't give me the lock to unlock the battery, so I had to cut it. And because of that, this is the farthest it will go out because the lock is still there after I cut it. So just gotta squeeze it out like so and pull it out. You might run into this problem too because the lock might be there from factory if you purchased it used. So just try to remove as much stuff in the way and then pull the battery out slowly. They're pretty heavy batteries, so be careful. Don't let it squish your toe. Okay. Boom, battery's out. I'm gonna leave my compression tools in here so that I can reuse them next year in case I don't have any water bottles. And here's the rustiness that I gotta push back in. Maybe next year I'll spray some WD-40 in it. Don't got any on me right now. Okay, so that's it. Batteries are out. So the last step what I could do is to top off the windshield washer reservoir with some high quality -45 minimum antifreeze or windshield washer fluid. Not antifreeze. Don't put antifreeze in there. Here's that. Okay. Boom.
What does that do?
It just makes it not freeze. And seeing how I didn't put a lot in there, I might come back and put some isopropyl rubbing alcohol in there just to make sure it doesn't freeze at all. But yeah, that's the last step. And now, so I'll close it up, and that's it. We just used antifreeze and winterized this RV fully. All you gotta do now is in spring, reverse that process. And perhaps when spring comes around, I'll do another video showing how to de-winterize. Until next time, happy RVing. Peace out. If you like this content, please hit the like and subscribe if you want to see future content like this. Peace out.